All right. What's up, traders? Welcome back to the show. Listen, this is a special episode, Spy Insider League, the Money Report. All right. I'm Coach UV, and this is the unique trading group where strategy meets mindset and discipline turns into income. Today, we're going to dive deep and talk about SPY. Talking about that pattern that I called. You remember, right? The V bottom reversal. We just got that move last week on Friday in the market rip, specifically SPY. All right. And we got new highs. We're going to review that pattern, show you what the inside COT report is saying, who's buying, who's selling, and how the money is transferring into energy. All right. That's right. SMR. Even crypto, Hood, HOOD, right? Google, and more, all right? This is the Matrix, and I'm ready to plug in, all right? We're going to be right back after this break. You guys are going to get recap, and you're going to get the game plan for next week, all right? No more guessing. We're going to get straight to business. See you in a second. You want to understand simple structure, right? And notice things that, like overhead resistance, we're resisting right here. We also got a trend line. If it breaks structure, we go into the downside or retest these lows here. But if it breaks above, man, that's a lot of pressure. That's the rally back towards the upside to retest the high next week. I will be replaying this. All right, this is not a glitch. I would replay this and recap this when it happens. Today's 9/16 at 4:14 p.m. All right, thanks. All right, folks, as you can see, that was a quick recap of Amazon. All right, as glitchy as it may seem. All right, and we're going to head over there to the chart because I want you to see exactly what I mean. All right, Amazon fell back to those prices, and we're going to show you here quickly before we head over to SPY. And we got some commentary from Tom Lee himself. All right, check out some of the videos inside of the playlist if you hadn't had a chance. There's some pretty good value in those. All right, and I have the Discipline File series as well, all about mindset. Commentary from the guy himself, Mark Douglas. All right, he wrote the Discipline Files. Okay, he wrote the Trading in the Zone book and also the Discipline Trader. So you check out those books and audio books and catch up inside of my episode. That way you won't get lost. All right, give yourself some grace, give yourself some time. All right, right here on Amazon. All right. Now that video that I just played for you, that was around the 16 and 17. I said to not rush, right? I was bullish on Amazon, but I said to wait for a pullback right into these zones, and that's exactly what we got. All right, you see that right in front of you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to Google. That's right, I mentioned Google, SMR. All right, here on Google, we are sitting at a price of $254. All right, now if you remember, I put out a video a couple weeks ago, like I do the weekly and daily unique outlook that I put out for traders and aspiring traders. Even if you don't know how to trade, all right, the mechanics, and you're interested, or even keeping up with tickers that you like to invest in, the analysis gives you entries and exits and what to look for, right, with numbers based on an edge. All right. And so a couple of weeks ago, I talked about a burst above the daily and weekly close from previous weeks, and we got that explosion ever since. And we've been inside of this range. Wild swings, all right? Wild swings, all right? Now, this is a quick overview because I wanted you guys to get some commentary, like I said, all right? Meta, all these stocks are in a time where there's money being, put into certain stocks, right? With a little bit of fear, all right? There's some hedging, and so you're going to get price fluctuations. You understand? With the credit rates and with the AI, right? The future of AI and what that means for productivity and the speeding up of things, all right? You see this evolution inside of the stocks, and I think that we have a whole lot higher. Not to say that something bad won't happen, right? Like maybe a 20 or 10% drop, or even a 3 or 5% drop would be a blessing. However, we don't guess, we don't gamble, we trade the chart right in front of us, right? We're going to trade the chart and not with our heart. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some commentary from Tom Lee. I want you guys to understand some things, and we're going to get right back to the charts to finish out. So stick around because I got a game plan for the NASDAQ and for SPY. You don't want to miss what I have in store for you. All right. So let's get to this commentary, and we'll be right back to the charts. We're going to talk about the SPY. All right. We call that V bottom reversal on SPY. Remember, look at the chart. Look at the chart. There's the V right here, right? Price slammed into support. Buyers stepped in hard, straight reversal, and then this pattern we trained on. All right, that's the pattern that prints. This pattern prints. V's, W's, all right, alphabet letters that you learn in elementary school. These have significant meaning inside of the market. Understanding what they mean allows you to execute on entries and exits at the best risk to reward. Simply plain. All right, so on the chart right now, you can see the deep spike, right? You see that? All right, the sharp snapback was a retest of support. All right, previous support right here in this zone, right? Let me give you guys a visual so you can see here clearly where price bounced from. All right. Okay, we're going to refresh the page. Now we had a bounce off of support right there at that price that I just showed you guys, all right? And that's a classic V-bottom reversal with a trap. The shorts got caught right there, right? So they were forced to cover. If they're caught short, all right, that means that they were trying to short the market to the downside, but we got some momentum back towards the upside, so they are forced to cover. That's why the that's why the price rocketed in a certain direction towards the upside. And the fact that, you know, it's funny to see that the volatility is low, right? Volatility is low. So usually in a low volatile market, which it don't seem that way, which is kind of being normalized with these wild swings, but volatility in the option channel SPY is still bullish, right? And so even here on this 15-minute time frame, I want you guys to understand that this is exactly why we watch the COT report 3:30 p.m. Friday, right? Patterns plus position equals edge. The market just showed you that edge. This is not hindsight. This is process. All right. So let's talk about it. The COT report. All right. So this is public data that I provide to my group. All right. It's a bunch of numbers, bunch of data. All right. But I simplify it, put it in a way where they could just read it. All right. Spit it out to them. They can spit it back. All right. It shows me where the big players are actually at. All right. What are they doing? All right. And here's what it says. All right. All right. I'll give it to you. This commentary is live. Again, this is the Unique Trading Group. Appreciate you guys watching. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the commentary so far. All right, again, I'm Coach UV, and if it's your first time watching, I do daily and weekly updates on the market, SPY, and the NASDAQ specifically, where you get guidance, right? All right, from a 10-year veteran trading, right? Teaching people about trading the markets, whether that's options and or future, okay? So subscribe, hit that bell notification. That way you don't miss any of my valuable drops. And of course, we have a beginners section and down in the description on the YouTube channel. All right, so welcome to the family and feel free. Now back to the folks that came here for the regular scheduled programming. SPY. This is what it says. All right, the S&P E-mini contracts. All right, the commercials. There you have three levels, right? Three people in this thing, right? The commercials, non-commercials, and the retailers, spectators, right? All right. They increased both longs and shorts. The commercials did, all right? That's hedging. They're protecting against volatility. And in micro contracts, commercials are net long. That's a quiet vote for upside in smaller size. The spectators, right, retailers, right, they are covering shorts faster than cutting longs. That's fuel for the new move we just saw. You understand? It flashed. You seen that on the chart. How SPY made that V bottom and we rushed up to 663, 664. All right. This is the money shifting under the surface. This is the matrix code. You see the numbers. You see the intention. Hedgers are bracing. Spectators, right? They're bailing right now, right? They're just doing spectating. That's all they're doing. They're just spectators. But the micro longs are building, and that's why that pattern printed. This is the pattern that prints. All right. This is about money flow. Now we're going to get back up to an SMR. If you know anything about the this industry here, all right, with energy, all right, and you can understand this crazy move here that we got last week, all right. This stock shot from 38 to 46 bucks, all right. This is market rotation when the money flows from one thing to the next, all right. SMR, right? You got a volume spike, momentum pops, short squeeze, same thing on SPY, all right. Watch for breakout above the recent high. That's what you want to watch for, all right. Simple and plain. Watch out for the breakout above the high, 46.77, all right. On Hood, you want to watch out, all right. Now, trust me, Robin Hood is a good one, all right. This stock is holding support clearly, all right, clearly holding support, and we can hop over to the daily, guys. Listen, it doesn't matter what chart we're looking at, all right. Right now, it doesn't. The numbers and the context matter, but we are a group that likes to focus on higher time frame, all right, the macro, the big picture point of view, all right. This so happen to be on the 15. Just want to be clear, all right. But this is Hood on a daily chart, all right. It's testing resistance, those highs, 124.78, all right. And honestly, growth money is rotating. If it breaks with volume, it can run, all right. We're already at 124. Just a month or two ago, Hood was at 99, struggling at 100, and now we're at $24, all right. Life-changing money. Again, watch out for the break of these highs. If we fall back down, watch for the retest previous highs, previous ranges, all right. 124.36 and 119. And 123, and of course 120 being the line in the sand, all right. Now let's move over to Google. Appreciate you guys rocking with me this long, all right. This is the insider leak, all right. These patterns are printing. You understand? This is how patterns print, all right. Having an edge, watching a high time frame, all right. Steady accumulation here on Google, all right. Steady accumulation here on Google, all right. We got tech leadership here with Google, all right. If SPY continues, then Google benefits. Period. Understand what stocks you trade, all right, what they are, ETFs or individual stocks. Understand where they fall in the sector category, guys. You got to understand that, all right? Tech, SPY, consumer discretion, Tesla, utilities, all right? All of the cable, the water companies, electrical companies, all right? Healthcare, all right? You got to think UNH. You understand? This is how this works. Financials, JP Morgan. That's the way that this works. All right, you got to understand that. All right, the energy sector right now has a lot of big flow in it, so you want to watch the XOM, CVX, and OXY. All right, global energy risk plus inflation talk is pushing capital into energy. So this rotation gives SPY some fuel, because remember, they wasn't participating at first, right, in the middle of the year, and we still got these rallies. Remember, driven by the AI hype, right? The broad end of the rally. That's what we want to see. All right, so this is the leak. All right, you're seeing where the big money move ticker by ticker. This is why we don't chase random plays. We follow the flow, all right? So this is my call to action for you, all right? We're going to toggle back to SPY, all right? This is my call to action for you. Now, I know this can feel like a lot. Charts, patterns, inside data, multiple tickers. If it's overwhelming, please don't overthink it. At least try not to. This is why I built a free video course. Check out the link above, all right? Inside, I break down step by step how to spot these patterns, read the reports, plan the trade, and risk-based, momentum-driven. No nonsense. So click that link down below in the description right now. Go ahead and grab that link, all right? And also get one of the best-selling books, all right, in my community, the Unique Trading Group, all right? The Power of Paytience. That link is also down in the link. And join our group, all right? That's where I go in detail, live and mentor traders to cut years off of their learning curve. Stop guessing, get educated, shorten your learning curve, get grounded with mentorship. That link's below, all right? Now, I want you to know how I'm trading everything. Right now, at the time of this message, all right, SPY, we got Meta. All right, let's go back to SPY. Okay, at the time of this message, SPY is below, all right, it's below the closing price, all right, which was 663.70. That's what we're dealing with. All right, we have a put call ratio at 5.5. That's bullish for the market, but we might get some rotation where people start buying some puts, all right, because we do have data next week. You want to be prepared for that data. That is very, very important, all right? But we are still above previous close from last week. So that's bullish on SPY. So that's why I'm bullish, only waiting for pullbacks and waiting for this ironic, predictable data. All right, I'm going to show you that real quick. All right, SPY wants 665 and 670, simple and plain. Some of these videos can be repetitive. I know you heard me say some of these numbers before, but keeping up with context, right? In all spirit of the market, I want you guys to have an advantage. All right, and so next week, quickly, let's see this. Tomorrow, Monday, this video 2 days before market open. Monday, we have a 2 o'clock speaker. Tuesday, we have some more red star news, PMI. Watch out for that flash PMI, all right? Watch out for these Fed speakers, all right? If you're not in positions, don't chase, maybe watch, right? But if you know how to trade volatility, you'll be in position waiting for the sentiment and the technicals to play out. But at these moments, when the time release, we get really wild swings, all right? And sometimes a lot of people lose money trying to trade that volatility because they don't understand it. You get a closer look inside of that. And so all week we have some news up until Friday, the GDP, more members speaking, unemployment claims. All these things matter that all correlate with interest rate talks, and the market reacts to that. Some of your favorite tickers, and I just want you guys to understand that. All right, I really want you to understand that. Now that we're back to the charts, all right. Here's exactly what I'm trading. All right, for SPY, I only want to enter on a daily or the 4-hour close. That's it. All right, you see that 66370. All right, I only want to trade that. I enter on a daily or a 4-hour close above that resistance. My stop loss is below the swing low of that V bottom pattern. All right, you see that better on a 15-minute or even on an hour. All right, scratch up our screen. See, this is where we are. This is where we are. All right, V bottom reversal. All right, that's the V bottom right here. All right, that's where I want my low to be. There's another V bottom reversal right here. This is the more current one. All right, that's where I want my stop to be, right below that swing low of the V bottom. All right, I size small into the confirmation. If breakout holds, I scale in. So we watch for breakout pullbacks. Right now we are below this price, so that's kind of bearish right now. We watch for intraday on Monday to see what happens. Are we going to fall back to these demand zones at 662 or 66? What are we going to do? We got to find that. We have to wait and see what we're going to do. All right. Now for SMR, Hood, and Google, I'm using partial positions. All right. I want momentum, volume, follow through. Stop just under the recent lows. If failure, I exit early, and you can see that. Let's just go to SMR. All right, let's just go to SMR. Clearly overextended. Clearly there's some momentum. All right, it does not have to fall, but it could. All right, so I don't want to put too much risk. All right, just for example, all right, Google, Hood, SMR. All right, for the energy names, I'm looking for continuation, but I'm using strict risk, like I said, because energy can whip around, all these headlines. So this is not a prediction, it's preparation. It's reading the code before the crowd. That's the plan, all right? So here's the bottom line. We call that V bottom reversal. It printed, SPY rip. CLT report shows that the hedges are bracing, all right? The speculators are covering. That's why the market is ripping. Micro longs are building. Money is rotating into energy, all right? Stocks like Hood and Google, all right? The pattern is alive, all right? Trade with risk, though, but wait for confirmation. Follow the flow. This is your edge. Smash that like button if you got some value from this video, and subscribe and hit the bell so you're first to know when the next Insider Weekend Leak drops, all right? These are always going to prepare you guys for Monday and next week. That's why these videos are so popular, because I give you levels, I give you insight, all right? If you want to join, trade with us live, click that link below, all right, and join the unique trading group, all right? We got a small account challenge for those who have small accounts, all right? I have 2 tiers inside of my Discord if you want to join, all right? So don't let money be a problem, all right? Don't let money be a problem. Get involved, all right? Get involved with the community. And with people who are experienced with like-minded individuals, all right? We can do this together. If there's any tickers you want to let me know about, drop them down below. Don't worry, I engage back, all right? And click that link that I gave you before for that free course, all right? Get mentored, shorten your learning curve. This is the unique trading group. Strategy meets mindset, and discipline turns into income. You guys stay disciplined, stay plugged in, and see the code. Trade that pattern, and I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Peace.